Yeah, give me what team do you have for like underachievers?
Well, man, I'm going with a team that honestly didn't even hasn't made the playoffs in recent history, aside from the shortened season, much at all. So I'm going to go with the 2016 Miami Marlins.
Okay.
I feel like they had some teams when they had Stanton. I mean, we've talked about this. They had Stanton, Yelich, Real Muto, Ozuna back in when he was in the league. D.
Yeah.
Gordon was really good. But in 2016, they finished 79 and 82, which was third in the NL East. And man, this team, I really thought that they should have gone farther. I thought they should have made the playoffs, honestly. They had Don Mattingly as their manager. But man, I mean, their starting lineup was uh, not exactly this, but it was D. Gordon. Martin Prado played third base. He was really good.
Okay, I remember him.
Then they had Stanton, Yelich, Ozuna in the outfield. Justin Bour was at first base. He was pretty solid.
Hmm.
And then they had Real Muto at catcher. Shortstop was a Danny Echeverria, who was never really a good hitter, but he was always a really great defender. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at that team on paper, the lineup wise, it was probably one of the best in the league if they were all healthy.
That is really good. Even though that was pre like Star Yelich, that's still a really good lineup.
Well, so what I found interesting was actually this season, Yelich had his best season in Miami ever. He drove in 98 runs.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't know he ever drove in that many runs with Miami. I knew he
Yeah.
did it with Milwaukee, but yeah, I mean that year Martin Prado hit 305. He drove in 75 runs. He had like a great season.
Huh.
D Gordon had 30 stolen bases that season. He was hurt a little bit though. He only played 79 games. So if you think about that stat though,
Oh my
he only
God.
played 79 games and he stole 30 bases. So
That's
that's
crazy. That's almost
yeah.
one
I
every
mean,
game.
I know.
I mean, one every
It
two games. I'm
every
not.
two
No,
games.
you
Yeah,
know, I meant to say that.
that's still it's
Regardless.
like it's insane. Like the fact that they didn't do. I mean, Stanton that year played 119 games, and like let's face it, that's pretty much what you expected from Stanton back then when he was playing the field at whatever the case is. Stanton
Yeah.
probably averaged about 120 games played per season, so he drove in 74 runs, 27 homers. I mean, Ozuna, 23 homers, 76 RBIs. Real Muto hit 303. He had 12 stolen bases, 11 homers for a catcher. I mean, that was back when not there weren't many fast catchers. There still aren't. So,
No.
I mean, Justin Bour played 90 games and he had an 824 OPS. I mean, these guys, I get that some of them were hurt a little bit, but like, I mean, this team on offense was just unreal. I don't understand how they never got it done.
No.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess like if you look at it, obviously a key issue was probably their starting rotation. Aside from Jose Fernandez, they didn't really have much. But this season, Fernandez had a 16-8 record, 2.86 ERA, 253 strikeouts, 12 and a half Ks per nine. And it sucks that everything happened
Yeah.
that season because I would love to be watching him pitch now, man. He was one of my favorite
Don't
pitchers
get
of
me
all
started
time.
on Jose Fernandez, man.
Yeah,
That's
he was
tough.
he was awesome. And this was the season. I think the accident happened late in September, right? There was only about a week left in the season, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but it could have been.
Yeah. But if you're looking at it just pure statistically, he had a great season. Again, he was an all star in 2016. He was in San Diego when Stanton won the Derby that year. I mean, it was just a cool scenario all around.
Yeah.
Um, And then they had Adam Conley, who is still pitching right now. He had probably his best season this year ever. He had an 8-6 record, 3.85 ERA.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, for a guy who wasn't really known to have great years, that was a pretty solid season. ERA under 4.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, they had guys like Tom Kohler, Wei Yin Chen, who was a really disappointing signing for them. He had like a 4.96 ERA that year. Kohler had a 4.33. And I think the last few guys in their rotate, they kind of just pieced together the whole year. So obviously the rotation was a big issue, but I'm telling you this: if they would have made a wild card game and Jose Fernandez would have gotten the chance to pitch in a wild card game, I don't know if
Oh
anyone
yeah,
would have beaten them
they
because
would not have lost that.
I
Yeah.
mean his electricity. I mean, can you imagine if there was ever a wild card game with like DeGrom Fernandez or like Scherzer Fernandez? Like that would have been legendary, dude. That would have been unbelievable. Surprisingly, their bullpen was actually a lot better than I thought it was, too. Like their closer, AJ Ramos, had 40 saves that year and a 2.81 ERA.
I
He was
forgot about
really
AJ
good.
Ramos. Yeah,
I feel like he was on the Mets for a while after he was on the Marlins, right? I
I think
think
you're right. Now that
at
he's
some
like
point.
that, just like unlocked a memory in my brain. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. But former Yankee, they had David Phelps in the bullpen. He had like a 2.28 ERA. He was a stud. I was like, I didn't realize
Hmm.
that. Kyle Bearclaw was another name that we haven't heard in a while, but like that year he had a 2.85 ERA. He was really good. Dustin McGowan, I don't even know who he is. Honestly, I'm
No,
being completely honest. He had a 2.82 ERA that year. I mean, he pitched in 55 games. Like he was a really great relief pitcher that year. Mike Dunn was a guy I remember. He was a big lefty in the bullpen for them. He had a 3.40 ERA that year. I mean, they had some solid bullpen arms. Surprised, I didn't remember that their bullpen was like that good. I don't know if you
no,
did,
yeah.
but um, and I mean, look, they had a good bench too. Ichiro was their fourth outfielder, but he played a lot because everyone got hurt. Ichiro played like 143 games that year. Um,
Hmm.
he hit 291 still. He was a good hitter still. 10 stolen
That
bases.
does
He was
not
still
surprise me.
fast at age 42. He was still like really good. I mean, you think about the other guys. They had Derek Dietrich, who we know is a good bench guy. We've seen him play with the Reds and the Marlins. Miguel Rojas. That was before he kind of became the starting shortstop when Echeverria was still there. Um, Chris Johnson. I don't. He played with the Braves for a while before this. I mean, they had aside from their rotation, man. I think they had a pretty solid roster, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So
Better
I
than
was
most
curious.
people
I just
realize.
no, yeah. I was when you were at the lineup, I was like, how'd they underachieve this much?
Yeah.
I looked it up. So they were fifth in the league in hits, which probably sounds about right based on like what you just said.
Right.
Fifth in the league
Yeah.
in hits,
Yeah.
but they were 27th in runs.
Mm.
Kind of interesting.
So I actually noticed that when I was looking up their stats, like all the player stats from that year, all their run totals, no one had run totals even close to 100. The highest a player had was like in the 70s, which for a team that's that good at offense, that's not really, that's kind of an odd
I
stat.
think
Like,
I think just looking at it briefly, I think they didn't hit a lot of homers, and my guess is they just didn't hit with runners on. Like
right.
that's the only thing I can think of if there's that much of a discrepancy.
Yeah, it's like I guess most people didn't hit with runners on, but then there's like the outlier with Yelich who drove in 98 runs. He was probably like the only guy who hit with runners in scoring
Right,
position.
right.
Yeah.
That's
And
weird.
I mean, if you look at like Stanton, Prado, and Ozuna, they each had like 75 RBIs, let's say. They were like 74, 75, 76. They were all around there, which isn't
Okay.
terrible. But you want your big guys like that to probably drive in close to 100, just like Yelich did. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. It was just like I get like if they're not going to score runs and their pitching rotation isn't good, then you're not going to win. But still, it was just kind of an odd team. I think the few
Yeah.
years where they had all these guys, it was very strange that they never made the playoffs to me. And again, I know you need a good rotation. I get it, but like, I mean, still, this lineup, if they are all like at their peak, I would put this lineup against any team.
Pretty
If they're
good.
all healthy, I mean,
Yeah.
Stanton, Yelich alone, if they're both at their MVP caliber, that's insane. I mean, Real Muto, obviously we've seen what he can do, and again, I know everything happened with Ozuna, but back in the day, he was a very good hitter in Miami. So on the
Yeah.
baseball field wise, not personal life or anything, but if you're just talking strictly hitting, he was really good.
I would have loved to see just like a full season of like Giancarlo, Yelich,
Yeah,
Ozuna. I don't know if they ever
I
both
know.
played like 150 games or so a year, but like, damn
I
man,
feel like possibly in 2017 when Stanton was healthy,
that
like
might
the
have been
entire
great.
season, maybe. Because that year too, Ozuna could have like easily had MVP votes in 2017 too. I think he hit close to like 40 homers, maybe. I don't know what he had, but
Yeah.
he drove in almost as many RBIs as Stanton did. I mean, he had a great year that year. what has surprised me about this was Martin Prado, because I knew he played with
Oh yeah.
Miami and he was like a good clubhouse guy and stuff, but like this was probably one of his best seasons ever. 305 with 75 driven in. I mean, that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
good. I know you know him pretty well too, because he was with the Braves for a while before the Marlins.
Yeah. And we're just playing like hypotheticals here, but like let's say most of these guys were still around in like 2020, 2021, and then you added Sanchez and oh wow, I'm
Right.
blanking on their names now.
Alcantara,
Lopez,
Lopez.
Alcantara,
Yeah. Yeah.
Rogers. Like, oh man, dude.
And
Like
imagine
right
they like
now,
still
like
had Fernandez too,
well,
like
right.
with
I mean, I
those
was assuming
guys.
that too. Yeah, like
Right. Like Fernandez and then those four. I mean, that would this
no,
team
they
would
would.
probably be the favorite in the NL East all the time. So,
Yeah,
oh man, it's just such a shame. They had so much potential, and like I get that everything that happened to Fernandez was kind of out of their control. But
right.
I think that like once everything happened with him in 2017, they really had like no pitching because
Yeah, they
who
were
are they going
not.
to count on? Wei and Chen? Like, I mean, come on, they
Oh
had
wait.
really nobody. But if you think about who they used to have too, like they had Eovaldi for a while.
Oh, did they?
Before
Okay.
that, yeah, they had
Huh.
Eovaldi for a while. They had I don't remember his name. He's a guy who threw a no hitter for them on like the last day of the season one year in like 2014 or 15 or something. I forget his name, but
Yeah.
like he was. I mean, like, oh man, they had so many opportunities to be a really good playoff team, and they just never got it done.
Yeah. We'll see if their core right now can get anywhere. But I mean,
I
they're still
know,
really
yeah.
far away.